welcome to today's explainer. We're jumping right in, and our absolute main focus today is preparation. Specifically, we're looking at how to let your story do the work. We're going to explore why a truly successful pitch relies entirely on meticulous behind-the-scenes preparation long before you even open your mouth in the room. It's all about doing that crucial homework beforehand so you can literally let your story do the heavy lifting for you. To really master the art of the pitch, we need to unpack 5 distinct thematic pillars of preparation. We're looking at the core objective, delivering emotional experiences, authenticity and trust, knowing your audience, and finally, environment and context. All right, let's dive straight into pillar number 1, the core objective. You see, you can't just walk into a room, dump raw data on a table, and expect people to be moved. You have to find the specific story that matches what you're actually trying to achieve. Take Peter Guber's experience pitching the 1984 LA Olympics. He wanted his company to produce the official soundtrack. Now, his first pitch to the committee was totally data-driven, all about revenue and statistics. And they rejected it flat out. They felt absolutely nothing. But later, while traveling in Africa, Guber heard a sports-themed song on this tiny, static-filled TV, and it instantly evoked the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. That was his light bulb moment. He realized his objective wasn't selling an album at all, it was selling a unified, human emotional drama. He went back, repitched that exact emotional vision, and it turned into a massive, Grammy-winning success. Or consider Terry Schwartz. She won a dean position at UCLA by entirely skipping the standard financial stats. During her interview, she didn't just read off her resume. Instead, she acknowledged their core problem of a stagnant culture, pitched an incredibly vivid future vision of innovation, and then anchored the whole thing with a beautiful metaphor. She described the school as a reflecting pond, where everyone casts their unique ripples out into the future. By tying her objective directly to their shared problem using a metaphor, that meticulously prepared story got her the job. Moving right along to pillar 2, delivering emotional experiences. Information alone is never enough to move people. You have to make them actually feel the outcome. This brings us to the legendary basketball coach, Pat Riley, and the shocking significance behind packing for just one day during the 2006 NBA Finals. His team, the Miami Heat, was up 3-2 against the Dallas Mavericks, but they were facing a grueling Game 6 on the road. Losing meant a Game 7 in a totally hostile arena. Riley knew he had to inject his players with the absolute, unshakable certainty of winning Game 6. So, Riley used this brilliant single-night suitcase rule to instantly instill the emotional experience of winning into his players. He didn't stand there and give them a statistical lecture about the odds of winning away games. The physical act of packing a single shirt became the story itself. They felt the victory before they even stepped onto the court. And sure enough, they went out and won the championship that very night. That takes us to pillar 3, authenticity and trust. Here's the truth. If you don't buy what you're selling on a deeply personal level, your audience definitely won't either. You might be wondering, why on earth would brand expert Linda Resnick spend a staggering $211,000 at a Sotheby's auction for a string of completely fake pearls that belonged to Jackie Kennedy? It sounds totally crazy for costume jewelry, doesn't it? Well, by owning the true artifact, Resnick was able to own the authentic story. She wasn't just replicating a necklace with 17 layers of lacquer, she was replicating the emotional core of feeling like American royalty. And because her own belief in the story's authenticity was absolute, she was able to sell over 130,000 replicas. It just goes to show that authenticity scales massively when it's grounded in a true story. This is the exact same principle Nelson Mandela used when he pitched business leaders in 1993. Just a few years after his release from a 27-year imprisonment, he was pitching Western executives to invest in a brand new democratic South Africa. He shared how his prison guards never understood that while his physical body was confined, his dream of freedom absolutely never was. By leaning into this incredibly authentic, lived story, he secured their deep trust and the massive economic backing needed to build a peaceful nation. And now we shift to pillar 4, knowing your audience. If you don't tailor your story to the specific people listening, your perfect pitch is going to fall completely flat. Take NASA's Gentry Lee. He masterfully alters his space exploration story based entirely on the emotional drivers of his audience. When he pitches Congress for funding, he taps right into fear. He points out that Mars was once a watery, Earth-like planet and asks, could this be Earth's fate? But when he pitches young students, he flips the script completely. He taps into curiosity and adventure, comparing spaceships to early pioneer wagon trains, and invites them to be the heroes of a brand new frontier. So, what actually happens when you just completely ignore the audience's story? To answer this, we have to look at a massive, perfectly logical business pitch to Starbucks that failed miserably. Peter Guber and his partners prepared a highly lucrative proposal for Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz. On paper, the financials were totally flawless. But pitching plasma TV screens to Howard Schultz failed because it violated Starbucks' core story of customer autonomy. It tried to turn them into a captive audience. Schultz rejected the idea of screens playing customized content and ads immediately. Why? Because Starbucks is built entirely on the story of the third place. It's a comfortable environment where customers dictate their own experience, whether they want to read, chat, or just stare out a window. The pitch completely ignored what the audience, Schultz and his customers, actually valued. And ignoring an audience's deep-seated historical prejudices will instantly kill any persuasive vision, no matter how grand it is. For example, when Sony executives enthusiastically pitched a huge vision for a new European headquarters in Berlin, they proudly revealed the site was located directly over Hitler's former bunker. They entirely ignored the deep-seated historical trauma that a Jewish executive would naturally feel about that location. Because they failed to account for this incredibly important prejudice, the pitch alienated the listener before it even truly began. And that brings us to our fifth and final pillar: environment and context. The physical space where you tell your story matters just as much as the words you use. Think about director Tim Burton. He absolutely hated horses, but he rode one anyway just to pitch Jack Nicholson in Nicholson's preferred environment. When Burton needed Nicholson to play the Joker in the 1989 Batman film, Nicholson invited him up to Aspen and demanded they go horseback riding. Burton was totally out of his comfort zone, but he understood a crucial secret. By meeting his audience where they felt in control, the environment did half the convincing. And hey, Burton got his Joker. Which brings us to Michael Milken. He realized that a baseball stadium was the absolute perfect environment to pitch men on getting prostate cancer screenings. Think about it. A baseball game provides a captive, highly male demographic. There's built-in downtime between innings to actually tell a story. And crucially, there's a deep generational connection or fathers and sons bond. It is literally the ultimate context for a men's health message. By matching a literal life and death message to the ideal, comfortable environment of a baseball game, Milken's prepared story actually altered medical history. After surviving a terminal diagnosis himself in 1993, he launched a stadium tour, using the environment to host his campaign right before Father's Day. The result? Men listened, they got screened, and prostate cancer death rates eventually halved. That is the power of context. So, bringing it all together, these are your 5 essential checks before you make a pitch. Define your objective, plan your emotional delivery, ensure authenticity, tailor your messaging to the audience, and find the perfect context. I want to leave you with this thought to carry into your next big meeting. Preparation is what actually builds the stage you stand on. It is never just about running the numbers. It's about crafting the narrative so perfectly that the story itself does the convincing. So ask yourself, are you letting your story do the work, or are you just talking? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this transforms the way you prepare to share your next big idea.